What's up, guys, and welcome back to C&D Gaming. I'm Chase here with Dustin, and we got Week 9 for you, Monday night primetime game. Let's go.
We have prime time, and we've had a bunch of prime time games. I think it feels like we have anyway.
Yeah, it does feel like we've had a lot this year, but I mean, we've earned it. We got a good
Yeah,
winning record right now. We lost only one game, so let's
pretty
keep our
good.
streak going, man.
We're gonna continue our fantasy talk in this video slash podcast.
Hell yeah.
Talk about a
Let's
different
go.
position. I think we've covered three different positions, and we'll see what we're feeling in this game. And maybe I don't know. What do you think we should talk about? Maybe we could talk about. We've had a couple. We've talked about quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. What you feeling today, Chase?
Let's just keep it rolling. Let's keep it moving right along and just go right into the tight ends on this one. What you think?
Tight end position. That's a tough spot to talk about. It's not a lot of options.
Hell no.
So we'll see what we can do.
That's one of them, very limited positions where you got to make a smart pick. So I think it'd be a good one to give us our top five, for each, and
There's just so
see.
many teams that don't utilize that position, the way they should. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys in those positions that are kind of just, there for blocking and not so much fantasy related, situations and stuff. So it's a tough spot. It's a tough
Hey,
spot to pick from.
speaking of that too, I noticed last year in one of our fantasy leagues, you yourself utilized having two tight ends in your league. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit and explain why you did that? And,
I'll tell you why I did it for because my whole team was injured. But I mean, that is something like, if you there's some weeks that bye weeks really mess with you. There's sometimes that, your players, I mean, they're not doing as well as you want to. If you have two solid tight ends, man, let them go. Let them put them in there. Like, see what happens. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to get into a situation where you do have two solid tight ends. But last year I had two guys that people didn't really pay attention to. I think because one of them was, you know, he's a veteran, but he hadn't
right.
played so hot before, and then the other one was a new guy, young guy, and I don't think people really paid attention to either one of them. So I got lucky to have them both, but
Yeah,
it don't always
yeah.
work out that way.
I agree with you. It is like something you gotta pay attention to, in order for it to work out. But it worked out for you. It was working really good. So I say that's a strategy, for some people to keep in the back of their mind.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be against doing it again if the situation's right. Like I said, it's just one of those things you got to kind of play it by the week and see how it goes. But
Yeah,
sometimes, like I said, bye weeks are tough. You have a lot of people on bye, so you have the good players to put them in.
absolutely. All right.
So
Well,
one thing we always usually start off with is kind of like, what time, what point in the draft would you really focus on getting a tight end? Like, we've mentioned this year kind of being heavy on the running backs at the beginning of the season.
right.
So, with that strategy still in mind, taking running backs maybe first two draft picks when you look into getting a tight end,
I'd say
for you personally.
for me personally, I probably get a tight end in probably round 3 or 4, just based on how obviously how the draft's going, and if anybody's, normally I try to look for, if anybody starts taking tight ends, then normally I'll try to start taking one uh, before like I get my quarterback and stuff. So I usually probably take it about third or fourth round, maybe fifth sometimes, just depending on the situation.
See, I'm gonna kind of agree with what you said because that's kind of the thing I was thinking. Maybe do running back, which we talked about already.
Right.
But I gotta say, I mean, with that position being so thin and there's not a whole lot of options, I definitely feel like third round at the latest.
Yeah.
Maybe fourth round, but definitely around in that third and fourth area, you definitely want to start
Right.
looking into getting a tight end because there's not going to be a lot of options left if you miss out. People start taking them real fast and they're flying off the board. You're not going to have many chances left to pick a good guy. So,
Right. Yeah. That's
and with
exactly.
quarterback usually kind of going later in a lot of leagues, and then the wide receivers being so many options, so saturated and stuff. I feel like tight end third round definitely seems the most logical.
Yeah. I'd say the third, fourth is probably the best spot to get a good tight end. Because if you wait too long, you know, you're going to be screwed and you're going to end up with somebody who's, you know, average at best and not one of the elite. So,
yeah. Well, you know, we were just talking about, you know, you mentioned I used 2 tight ends. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my top 5 because 2 of those guys that I used in that league are 2 of my top 5s because I've always really liked them.
All right.
Number 1, David Njoku from the Browns. He was a guy I used in that situation. Like I said, he kind of went unnoticed last year in the draft because, I mean, he's not, you know, he's not an all-star. He's not a guy that, like, always making big splashes. But he was very consistent last year. He had a really good year.
Right.
He's kind of had his ups and his downs and stuff. But I feel like, you know, maybe we talked about the Browns before. It's kind of iffy with the Browns because you don't know their quarterback situation and stuff. But, I mean, they had a tough quarterback situation last year. Multiple different guys played at that position. You know, it was inconsistent, and Njoku still had a relatively good year playing in that kind of situation. So,
right,
if he can excel in a spot like that, you know, I think that he's truly a good player to have on your team. So,
yeah, and
he's go ahead.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. I was going to jump in and say, yeah, he's definitely one of those players where you can see the progression in him every year that he's in the league. The longer he's in the league, the better he's getting. So that's fun to watch as a football player, you know, to come in and get better and better and better and start being one of the elite tight ends.
I mean, he's a big guy. He's strong, you know, like that's the kind of dude that, like, you know, I mean, he has had a couple of issues with drops and stuff, but I think if he can get that settled out, evened up and stuff, which I think he's going to. I mean, absolutely, I think he's going to be one of the best guys this year available that might kind of sneak down the board a little bit because, like I said, he's not somebody that people are grabbing real fast, real early.
Right.
So he might be something that could fall into a good spot, you know, for some people that are looking for a tight end.
That's a good pick.
Now it's Herbert.
Oh, you knew I was going to say that, man. I've always liked that guy. I don't know what it is about him. I've always just enjoyed watching him play and stuff. So moving along, though. Probably going to go with Kincaid from the Bills. Next would be my next choice.
Okay.
I mean, you know, with Knox, Dawson Knox is there, but it kind of seems like he's taking, you know, a step back and kind of just doing that mentor, kind of being, you know, help teaching some young guys some stuff. And
right.
Kincaid started to really take off last year and kind of started to take over on the important drives and important downs and stuff like that. And I think it's going to continue that way this year. I mean, I'm sure that Knox is still going to have some involvement and stuff, but it feels like Kincaid's going to be kind of the coming there guy. And then on top of that, I mean, we mentioned it before too, like they don't, you know, the Bills kind of lost some receiver options. They ain't really got a lot going on in the receiving department. So it's possible that Josh Allen might lean on, you know, a strong tight end to get things rolling for him on those drives that he don't have any other options to do, you know.
Yeah, that's very possible. I can see that happening. And Kincaid was a dominant rookie when he was drafted coming in. He was one of the best at the time he was drafted. So I think he's definitely going to be one of the top ones this season in fantasy for sure.
Absolutely.
Not going to. We still have December left. We're only in November, but they will be a wild card team.
Sorry. Next guy, I think I'm going to go ahead and
number 3.
Give a shout out to my dude, McBride. Once again, you know, Cardinal fan. I'm going to mention the Cardinals, but something special about McBride, man. He just seems to be, I don't know, man. He just seems like he's really ready to, like, take a step forward. And he already did that last year now, I mean. So he takes another step forward, dude. It's going to be unreal. And I know he's not really a guy that people don't know about. He's not, you know, he is kind of becoming a big name and kind of becoming a popular choice at tight end now. So nothing that people don't know already. But I feel strongly that, you know, you guys like Kelsey and probably Mark Andrews, Kittle, those guys usually go pretty early, pretty quick. So you might get lucky, and McBride might fall to a good spot for you if you got a good position in drafting. And if he does, I definitely think you should take him because, I mean, him and Kyler Murray have the chemistry already. He was doing good with playing with Dobbs, and I mean, Dobbs, you know, nothing against Dobbs, but he had a rough season. But I mean, McBride made it work. So
hey, change off of him. I'm gonna do it. That's what I'm gonna do it too.
Oh, Lord. That was almost almost ran out of time on that play there.
I was waiting on you to switch, and you skipped there, and I was like, dang.
I really like that. Like I said, you know, I do think I said McBride. Like I said, he's not something that's a big surprise to anybody, but I do feel like if you have the chance to grab him, then you should definitely try your best to get hold of him because I think him and Murray's chemistry is just gonna keep growing. Like I said,
Yeah, and
he's gonna be the real deal this year.
he's kind of a tight end that's under the radar, honestly, but not many people know about him other than Arizona fans. So he'd be a real good sleeper pick, you know, because nobody knows
Yeah,
about
I mean,
him. But Arizona.
I do feel like after last year's success,
That was a great
he had a really
touchdown.
good year. Thank you, appreciate it. But I do feel like after last year's success, the stuff that he had, that I think a lot more people are going to take notice and kind of recognize that and see that and stuff. But I still think that he has a good chance of slipping down, maybe even to maybe 5th, 6th, you know, position in the tight end. So maybe lower, but like I feel like, you know, that's a reasonable area. Like, you know, a little bit. I mean, top 10 for sure he'll probably go. So if you have a draft position that works out, like I definitely think it's worth taking him in that position.
Yeah, I can see it. That's for sure. All right.
Always
moving
gotta give
on.
some love to my Cardinals.
Moving right along. Who you got next?
Another guy, kind of the same situation as McBride. I'm gonna go with Laporta from the Lions. Kind of the same situation. I mean, yeah, he's known. He's a big name. I mean, people seen what he did last year, and they know what he's going to do this year. So, not necessarily a surprise pick or a sneaky pick or anything like that. But I mean, once again, you know, I don't know that he will be. I think he'll be a top 5 grab. But you know, I mean, I would say that if you have I have a lot of faith in this guy. If you have the position and you're picking number 1. I honestly think number 1 pick, he should be the number 1 guy to go for. That's my true opinion. Because, I mean, you know, like I said, there's Kelsey, there's Andrews, and guys like that. But they're getting a little older. You know, they're starting to slow down a little bit. And, you know, we've seen what's happened with, you know, both those guys and stuff. But I feel like Laporta should be the number 1 guy off the board. So, I mean, if he falls any lower than 1st, 2nd position, you definitely need to try to snag him if you have the chance to do it. Because I think that's how good he's going to be.
I can see that, and that'd probably be a really smart pick for whoever to pick him up. No doubt.
I think my last one, I'm probably going to go with Schultz.
Okay.
I mean, I think I mentioned this in some of our other stuff too. Stroud, I mean, I think he's just going to continue to grow, become better and better, take another step forward this year.
Right.
He had a fantastic season last year, and Schultz, you know, I mean, they kind of developed a little bit of chemistry and stuff, and I think that's going to continue to grow. And I mean, he's just a solid kind of veteran presence now at this point, you know.
Oh,
That was weird.
that was pretty.
That was a weird interception, ain't gonna lie. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would say with Schultz. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think he'll fall a little lower. He might be top 10, but he might slip outside that top 10 radius possibly. So if you get a little later pick in your league and people start flying and you see him available, I think he'd be somebody solid to take. See if you can get a hold of him.
Oh yeah, for sure. No doubt. That's a solid list, bro. I gotta be honest. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into mine right quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So number 1, somebody that I really like.
I knew he'd be an issue. Derwin James, man. Dude is a monster.
Anyway, back to the fantasy talk. I really like Mark Andrews. He's kind of an older vet tight end, you know. I mean, he may not be as quick as he used to be, but he's a really good short-handed catcher and, you know, one of Lamar's favorite targets. So he's helped me win some fantasy leagues before, and he's just one of those trusted guys that you can't go wrong with. So that'd probably be my first choice. Moving right along.
I feel like with Andrews, you know, if there's any scenario that he doesn't get taken top 3, which I don't see happening because I think most people really like the guy, but if there's any scenario where he falls lower than top 3, like, hey, you got to take him. If he's there and he's available, man, like, you got to pick him up because, like I said, I can't think of any scenario where he might not be number 1, number 2, maybe even, you know, the first pick off the board because, like I said, I think a lot of people have kind of soured on Kelsey a little bit and stuff too. So Andrews is kind of the next logical pick there. So
Right.
yeah, I agree with you on that one. That's a good pick.
For my second choice, moving right down the board, I'd probably go with George Kittle, 49ers. I mean, he's a dude that's I don't know. He plays with an unbelievable aggression, man. He's always, as soon as he catches the ball, he's giving everything he's got to get more and more yardage. You know, running, knocking defenders out of the way. He's fighting for every yard that he can, and I really like that about him. He's got a lot of fight in him, and George Kittle would be somebody that I would get. And granted, some games he's not targeted that much because San Francisco's star-powered offense, but he does have a lot of good games. Just some of them might not be as high scoring as you would like.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle's another one of those dudes. I mean, like I said, I think, a lot of people know who he is, obviously. I think everybody knows who he is at this point, but
Yeah.
if he slips down, he's a good guy to take. I mean, he does have a little bit of injury history and stuff, but like you said, he's tough, dude. He's a tough guy, and he usually fights through that stuff. And with the way that the 49ers are playing, I mean, they might be one of the best teams in the league again. And you have, anybody on the offense like that, it's usually a logical step to take somebody off of a team that good. So,
right. Oof, man. All right, so moving right along. All right, so this guy here, he was a top 5 draft pick a few years ago. He come in the league, and he's Mr. Kyle Pitts for Atlanta. Has had a crap job of quarterbacks in his first few years in the NFL. And with this dude got a Kirk Cousins as his new quarterback, this dude is going to be scary, and he's going to show everybody why he was a top 5 pick this year. So he's definitely a safe pick in fantasy for sure this year.
I hope so, man. I hope he finally gets a chance to shine. I mean, like you said, he's had a rough go of it with his quarterbacks and stuff, but I mean, I think he's the guy that can do it. And I mean, once they get a little bit of chemistry built up between the two, I mean, I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins is like I said, he's one of those guys. It's just anybody that he's throwing the ball to, you want to have him on your team because he likes to air it out. That's for sure. So.
Absolutely. All right, so that was 3 from me, right?
Sure.
Let's see, I said Andrews, Kittle, Pitts. Yeah, that's number 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 4, I don't normally pick rookies a lot, but I'm gonna pick a rookie for my 4th pick, and that is the Las Vegas Raiders, Brock Bowers. This dude, man, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. Obviously, you've heard me say that in previous videos, but he was one of a kind tight end this season, and he was a big part in leading the Bulldogs to 2 back-to-back national championships. And he was a top 20 pick in the draft this year. And this guy's he's gonna turn some heads. He might be better than Gronkowski was by the time his career's over. So I'm really, really looking forward to him and thinking he's gonna be an impact player right away.
He's not a guy I know a lot about. I don't really, know a lot of information about the guy, but I mean, what I've seen of him, he looks like he's going to be pretty impressive and stuff. And I mean, going to a team, that don't have a ton of options in the passing game. I mean, obviously they have a few big names and stuff, but I could really see him stepping in and kind of taking in that role and really helping the offense elevate to another level and stuff. So absolutely. I mean, he's a good later round pick for the tight end position because I mean he might not be looked at by a lot of people considering he's a rookie and stuff. So if you're in a spot where you need somebody, you're not sure who to take, he might be a good name to reach out and grab.
Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt. And let's see, with my number 5, I'm going to pick Carolina's rookie. I'm going to say Ja'Tavion Sanders from Texas. I think he's probably one of the best tight ends that Carolina's had since Greg Olsen, and it may take him some little time to get some playing time, so he would probably be a good pick to grab for like a bench tight end, somebody to use in the flex on. Might have a slow start, but I think he's going to be really solid once he gets in the lineup full time, and I'm excited to see what he does in Carolina.
You're going strong with the rookies today, man.
I know it, 2 rookies.
Yeah, 2 rookies at the end there. That's good, though. I mean, yeah, we've talked about the Panthers a lot, and I think that they have a good chance of really stepping up and being a lot better this year. And, Bryce gets rolling and gets some good chemistry with his guys and his rookie and stuff. I mean, absolutely see them being a really good, strong pick. Like you said, maybe kind of be a bench rider for the first, maybe first couple of games and see what happens with the team and everything. But after that, I mean, yeah, he should be able to be plugged in and used, and maybe one of those guys, hopefully one of those guys that you can just put in and forget about, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt.
That's the best players, the ones you can just put in and forget about, you know.
Yeah. Just let them go. Not even have to worry about them. That's true.
I do have an honorable mention that I
Okay.
thought about. Well, you know, like I said, tight ends is a thin position, so it's hard to think of. But I do have one guy that I was kind of thinking about. You're not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to go with Cole Kmet. And the only reason I say that is because I know you don't have strong feelings about Caleb Williams, but I do think that, I mean, I don't know how Caleb Williams is going to be necessarily, but I do feel like, I mean, Cole Kmet was doing what the best as he could, and he had Justin Fields throwing to him, and I mean, and I have nothing against Justin Fields either, but I mean, I don't see a scenario where Caleb Williams would be worse than Justin Fields was. I mean, like, you know, it might be about the same. Hopefully he'll be better as time goes on and stuff. But
Yeah.
if Kmet can get that done with playing, we know, with Fields and kind of the situation they had, I think the Bears have gotten a little better, and I think that it's possible, you know, that Kmet could really have a good year with Caleb Williams throwing the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't care much for the Bears. You know, I don't really like Caleb Williams, but there's a couple guys on the Bears I do like, and one of them is DeAndre Swift. I really love him, and the second one would be Cole Kmet. I mean, the dude's coming to the league, and it's kind of like Njoku. You know, he's gotten better each year, and I don't have no hard feelings against him, and I think he'd be a really good, smart, you know, fantasy pick for sure.
He might be kind of another situation, you know, we just talked about. Maybe kind of let him have the bench, if it's possible, if you have the chance to do it. If you can get him, leave him on the bench maybe for a game or two, just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then maybe he'll, you know, surprise you, do well, and you can put him in or something. But if you ain't got an option, I mean, obviously just see what happens, stick him in there and see what goes on. But
yeah. All right, so my honorable mention is this is another older vet guy, and he's kind of bounced around the last few years on different teams, and he was actually on the Cardinals last year. But I'm gonna say Zach Ertz. He's a new tight end for Washington. He's another solid vet. You know, he may not be quite as good as he was when he was in his prime, but he still can catch and he can still get open. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to keep Ertz in mind.
man, obviously I have a lot of love for Ertz just because of the situation where he was with the Cardinals and stuff. But I agree with you. I mean, like, you know, he did have kind of a little bit of a rough year last year. He, you know, went to a new team for a little. I can't remember who he was even on last year.
He was on. Who was he on?
Either way, he left. You know, he left the Cardinals and he was on another team, and he kind of had a rough go of it for a little bit there. But
yeah,
I think he's going to bounce back. I mean, like you said, he's a good veteran presence. He knows how to play the game and stuff. And once he gets in there and gets rolling, I mean, you know, Washington's kind of another team that don't have a whole lot of options either, really. So, dude, God, sorry, I don't know how I keep getting these interceptions, man.
Are you good?
But yeah, definitely. I mean, Ertz is a good choice there. I feel like, you know, he might be another guy that people don't really pay a lot of attention to. I mean, he is a known name and stuff, but he might kind of slip down the board a little bit too, and you can grab him at a good time.
Yeah, that's true. So, so we've said our 5 picks, and we've had honorable mentions. So, is there anybody that you would like to tell our listeners to maybe stay away from? Somebody who's...
I got a weird one, man. A weird guy that, like, I don't think most people are probably gonna disagree with me on. But I'm gonna go with Philadelphia's tight end, Dallas Goedert.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what it is, man. I mean, well, see, okay. If you really look back at like his year last year, he had a good year. He did, but it wasn't as good as some of the guys we've mentioned today. So that's not really my biggest reason. My biggest reason too is he's kind of injury prone. He's had a lot of injuries and stuff. But he's also with the Eagles. I'm kind of having a bad feeling with the Eagles. I'm not sure how they're going to play this year. I mean, we saw them kind of regress and stuff last year, and I mean they've lost a couple of pieces of their team. And I don't know how the Eagles are going to be. You know, if they're going to come out and be the strong roll over everybody Eagles that we've seen, or if they're going to come out and kind of be how they were at the end of the season where they're not doing so hot, they're getting killed by like loser teams. I mean, it's possible. So with that kind of risk and stuff, I feel like he's a risky choice, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be grabbing him early because they know his name and he has had good seasons. So maybe let somebody take him, and you can get the guys you really want. Decide, don't settle for. That's just my opinion. Maybe don't settle for a guy like that. See if you can get somebody you really want.
That makes sense. I agree with you. Oh man, I was trying to get it to you.
I see now, yeah.
But yeah, I agree with
I'm
it.
glad you agree with me. I wasn't sure. I figured
Yeah.
you might would argue with me a little bit on that one.
He's a guy like. He's a guy that, like, since Ertz left, since they traded Ertz, I've never really liked him and never understood kind of why they got rid of Ertz, because I've always thought Ertz was a better player than Goddard has ever been, honestly. And so, yeah, I mean, absolutely, he's kind of one of these weird guys that just kind of like fits a position, but you know what I mean? But I definitely agree with that for sure. So mine.
How about you? You got an avoid yet?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, sir. I got a good one. So, so on fantasy, on ESPN Fantasy, this guy is listed as the number 2 tight end for this coming season. I don't know how in the hell he is in that number 2 spot. Fucking Taysom Hill from the New Orleans Saints does not make a bit of damn sense to me, bro. And I would, if I'm just gonna, my word of advice for anybody out there listening or watching, stay away from him. He's I hate him. He's not a good tight end. He has a couple good games a year, and that's it. So definitely stay away from him. Do not understand why he's in the 2nd spot.
I feel you, bro. I mean, I agree with you. I know why he's in that position, and I mean, we talked about it a little bit, in our own personal conversation that we had, and I think it's just because if you look at his stats and stuff last year, he had some very big games, but he had some very low games, and that's the problem with a guy like that. He's very risky because you don't know if it's going to be the week where he gets 40 or if it's going to be the week where he gets 5, so I mean, it's risky to have a guy like that on your team.
Yeah.
I know some leagues he can maybe kind of flex in a QB slot. I don't know, that's a different scenario, but in a standard league where he can only be put into that tight end spot, I wouldn't risk it either. I mean, obviously absolutely. If no one takes him and he's there, which I'm sure somebody's going to take him, and that'll be the guy that you let that guy have him. Don't worry about fighting for him.
Right,
but if
absolutely.
no one takes him and he's available, maybe you put him on your bench and you keep him in case something crazy happens. But like I said, the risk is too high. You don't know what's going to happen week to week with that guy. And I mean, the Saints ain't in a great situation anyway. I feel like they're not going to do so hot this year. I mean, they'll probably be decent, but I don't think they're going to be nowhere close to what they could be, what they have been before. So yeah, I agree with you, bro. I wouldn't waste the space on my team to have him on there if it's possible.
All right. I appreciate that response, homie.
Yeah, bro, I got you. I mean, I feel like, we agreed on pretty much all of our picks and stuff. And we've been pretty agreed. There's been a couple of things we've had just different opinions on, but.
I was clicking it, bro.
Bounced off.
Man. But yeah, so that's.
But yeah, I mean,
pretty good list we put together.
Yeah, there's plenty of big names, like I said, that we didn't mention. I mean, like obviously, well, you kind of hit on some of the big guy names like Mark Andrews and stuff. I feel like Andrews really has the possibility of being possibly going before Kelsey this year. And I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about Kelsey because I mean, dude, he proves every year that he's still worth what he's worth. But I do feel like he is kind of slowed down a little bit and stuff. And I feel like some people kind of last year sort of got kind of soured on him because they did let him down and stuff. But
right, absolutely.
I think the tight ends might be a little tricky this year. They're always a little tricky just because of the thinness of the position. But I think some stuff might be different than people realize. I mean, for the last 5 years probably, it feels kind of like all the tight ends have been drafted in about the same order. It's always Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, always top 3 tight ends every year. It seems like they're the top 3 every year. Yeah. But I feel like this year it might be a lot different than people realize.
So let me ask you, we hadn't really talked about this normally when we talk about a fantasy, but like, who's a couple, maybe like 2 tight ends now that's some younger guys that you think is gonna end up being like some of the historical tight ends that's better than Tony Gonzalez and say Rob Gronkowski and somebody in that category?
I mean, I'm gonna say McBride. I really have very high opinion of the dude. I mean, not just because he's a Cardinal, but I mean, I just think in general, like he has that ability. If he can keep growing and if our team can continue to get better, and like they're playing, we're playing okay. We're obviously not getting the minimum wins and stuff that we would like to have, but they're playing pretty good and stuff. And if they can continue to keep doing that, growing and getting better and better, I think McBride has a possibility of really going down in history as one of the top dudes. I mean, at least, especially for our team. but definitely for the league too, I feel that way about him.
Yeah, that's a good.
And then another guy I kind of feel the same way about. I mentioned as one of my picks too was Kincaid for the Bills. If Josh Allen and Kincaid get that kind of chemistry going, and like Josh Allen plays at such a high level and stuff, and I don't see him leaving the Bills probably for a while anyway. If he does, and I think that Kincaid can really get some good stats, get some good years and stuff if he continues to play well with the Bills.
Right. Okay. So that's a solid list. I'm gonna say Sam Laporta. I can see
that's a good one
as
too.
a good year he had last year, man, and he looks like he's gonna be in the NFL and play for a long time. He can catch, and he seems like he's definitely going to be a guy that's going to go down in history, and especially for Detroit, man. I mean, he helped bring the team to the first playoff win in over 30 years, so, I mean, he's already historic for that, but I could definitely see him, and I'm going to go with another young rookie this year who hasn't even played the NFL snap yet, but I'm going to say Brock Bowers, I think, is going to end up being better than Rob Gronkowski and all them go down in the NFL history. So we'll see what happens with it. But.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know a ton about that guy, but I mean, like, just from what I've seen him and stuff, it seems like he has the potential to be a big dude in the NFL. So I can see that being possible, him coming out and making a good impression and then just continue to growing and growing. And yeah, it's a lot of situational things, with making a star in the league and stuff, but give the right situation to these guys that we mentioned, I think they can really be some big names in the future too.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, there you got it. There you have it, folks. Tight end fantasy football list. Go grab them while you can. Hope y'all have a good season in fantasy, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, so for the people listening, you can follow along with us on the videos too. This one's winding down now as we're speaking. Get on our YouTube, check us out. You can watch the video that goes along with the podcast. And for the people already watching, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe and stuff, and leave some comments like we say every time on our picks, what you think about it. And if you have any other picks that you think are better, or if you disagree with our list or anything, just let us know. We appreciate the feedback on anything. And
absolutely,
you can finish watching this game with us here. We're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. We'll see if we can get this win, which is looking pretty clear that we're
looking
going
pretty
to.
Good. We are, yeah.
Yeah.
Good solid game we've had.
We're gonna see what we can finish it off real fast here. What a good solid W. This is a close game so far. I mean, not a close game, excuse me. This was a blowout of a game, my bad. Until the end here.
Yeah, it was. You had a couple really key interceptions in this game. It's been nice.
Well, he's killing them until like right here at the end they scored, and now they're trying to make a little comeback here.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening though, to be honest.
Nah, they put up a fight though, so they're trying. They hadn't quit yet. So I'll give them credit for that.
So we're going to continue rolling along, keeping our winning streak alive. We had that one loss kind of early in the season, which sucked, but now we're trucking along here. See if we can make it to the Super Bowl, to the playoffs, make it happen.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good season, man. We've only had one loss so far out of 9 games, so it's been pretty cool.
I agree. Here's the last play. Oh, look at that guy getting open.
He about was, wasn't he? Damn.
I know. All right, so yeah, anybody still?
That's a wrap.
Like I said, for the viewers that get to see this part, we appreciate it. Like I said, leave us comments, subscribe, and come back for our next fantasy talk, our podcast videos. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah, appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will catch y'all in the next video.